This is This Week in Perspective with me, Adam Simbe. Early last week, to be specific, on the 3rd of May, Tanzanians joined the rest of the international community to celebrate World Press Freedom Day 2018 with the theme Keeping Power in Check, Media Justice and the Rule of Law. The celebrations were marked nationally in Dodoma. At international level, they were held in Accra, Ghana, where the guest of honor in Dodoma was Dr. Harrison Mwakembe, Minister for Information, Culture, Arts and Sports. The United Nations Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, issued a statement prior to that in which he called all governments to strengthen press freedom and to protect journalists. To discuss this important day for the media with me today are on my right, Ada Sanga, a veteran broadcaster, but Chief Executive of Tanzania Women Media Association, TAMWA. Next is Dr. Hassan Abbas, who is Director of Information Services, Minister of Information, but he's also the government spokesperson. On my left is Joseph Mamyange, a seasoned journalist, but he wants to be referred to as a media consultant. Next but not last, Deo Balile, who is of course the managing director of Jamhuri magazine, news magazine, but here he is participating in his capacity as acting chairman of the Tanzania Editors Forum.
The gender-sensitive chairperson.
Okay.
Thank you.
So, my panelists, welcome.
Thank you.
And a special welcome to you, Ada.
Thank you.
Despite all attempts to get you on in the previous programs, it has not been easy because of your tight programs, but we are glad, viewers, to see Ada Sanga participate in this program. Not just for the first time, but at least she has helped us break the gender insensitivity, which is always around when we meet on this program. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
So, let us have a go in the next 55 minutes on the question of freedom or press freedom. And of course, the theme spoke for itself. And each country celebrates World Press Freedom Day. And we did in Tanzania, as I said. So, let me start with the Director of Information, Dr. Hassan Abbas, and the rest will have to respond to the same question. What is the status of the press freedom in Tanzania?
Thank you, Steve.
In the light of the World Press Freedom Day?
Thank you very much. That's a very difficult question, and I hope my fellow panelists will add on to what I'll try to say. But speaking from the government perspectives, press freedom can be, measured the different way. There are so many criteria you can measure the extent of press freedom in a country. So I'll do my part, and my fellows will come in and chip in. As far as the government is concerned, we have enacted a number of new media laws in our country, trying to come up with some provisions to protect the freedoms, but also to foster accountability of the media, because the term press freedom should not be confused. It has two major parts. The freedom, or which is the right part of the media to perform their duties freely, but the second part of which is accountability. The media has to be accountable on a number of issues, to individuals, to society, and even to the country. And
take responsibility.
Yes.
And be responsible.
Yeah. So as a country, it's difficult to measure, so to say, but what we have done, like introduction of the laws, but also, Tanzania is one of the countries in Africa with, a number of media. The multiplicity of media, diversity of media is high, it's satisfactory. As we speak, we have 172 newspapers under the new licensing of the newspapers in Tanzania. Of course, these are newspapers, magazines, and periodicals, 172 so far by records of April 2018. In terms of radio, we have over 150 radio stations in this country, freely broadcasting in diverse topics and diverse areas of the country. Television, I think we are somewhere over 35 TV stations. So in terms of allowing the media to be there, to collect, process and disseminate news, we are very well in terms of that particular area. So as I'm saying, there are so many other dimensions which we can have a discussion as we go.
Yeah. How do these, let's take for example radio stations, there are about 115, say. How do they sustain themselves?
Sustainability depends on the business model of a particular, whether TV or radio stations. Of course, most of these radio stations are community radio stations. Some of them are owned by, government institutions at the local government level,
yes,
the municipalities, the districts. But I think most of them are run like private media, commercial ones. So sustainability in terms of economic, it really depends on the economic model. And I know, I understand the Tanzania Telecommunication Regulatory Authority, who is licensing the media. One of the criteria, they are very sensitive into granting you a license is to see your business model. How are you going to economically sustain your radio, television stations? I think in newspapers also.
As well as your reach, I suppose.
Basically. And in newspapers, we are also trying to see your business, your policies and things like that. So sustainability is one of the things in terms of we as the government, we consider it very high.
All right. We'll get into more of the integrity issues in there. Joe, you are right on my left. Do you share what Dr. Bassa said?
Yeah, like he says, this is not a question that has just one simple answer.
Yeah.
It's very complex to say. The media, if you look at data that's available, they say that globally press freedom declined to its lowest in 2016 by about 13 years. It declined to its lowest in 2016. So there's generally for lack of a better word, the leaders that the governments that are there, they're not trying to look at the media as a partner in development. There are times that some of the politicians, they look at the media as, like adversaries. So, like I say, it's from the government side. The media, you can't say the media, there isn't freedom in this country. There is media freedom. But it's not absolute. There are certain limits. There are laws, like he says, that govern the freedom that we enjoy. But in recent years, there's been this cry that there's been a very heavy hand on the media. Whether it's perceived or true, it's meant to be seen. But if we look at the ease of doing business, it's just an example that we are not doing okay when compared to Rwanda and the others. And the government tries to take remedial measures. I think, since it comes from the government, when there are reports from within, maybe to Aweza, there is this Journalists Without Borders, Freedom House, when they come up with reports that show that our country, freedom of the press is declining, they should take measures, just like they take measures when the ease of doing business, that we are not attracting enough investors. They shouldn't look at the media that, when people say that maybe media freedom is declining, they look at it negatively. Let them look at it positively and see where they can rectify the mistakes that are happening or the weaknesses that are there. I gave the example of ease of doing business. Everybody is discussing that we are doing badly. We won't attract investors. How do we industrialize when we are not attracting investors? Let there be the same enthusiasm when it's seen that the media also, the media freedom, is going down or is declining by reports, not just in Tanzania, but even international organizations. Let the government be proactive and take action that why is it seen that media freedom is declining? Maybe I should end there for now.
Well, I'm sure Dr. Bass has
I'll come back to that.
had that very, very basic question. and you will help us and the viewers to understand.
Yeah.
Eda Sanga, as a veteran broadcaster, do you think there is really freedom of press in this country? I mean, it's easier to establish radio stations and magazines, newspapers like we have done, which were not the case in the previous years. So many. There's a question of readership, there's a question of reach, but overall, do you think there is freedom of press freedom in the country? That's a general status.
I think there is a semblance of freedom of speech and expression. If the amount of TVs and newspapers and radios are anything to go by. But I would say that in order to say there is freedom of speech, there is freedom of opinion, what kind of content do we have? When you read the newspapers, I hear some of the people nowadays saying, these newspapers, you get them, you read, and you find nothing, interesting. And why? Because I think we are not being critical, we are not independent, and maybe we are not investigating as we should in order to give explanations, to analyze, to answer questions that people would be asking, people would be anxious to understand. In other words, what I'm saying, we have the press, we have broadcasting gadgets, but what we see and hear and read is not something that really appeals to the members of the public. And why? For the reasons that my colleagues have already said, the media outlets are busy competing with one another, forgetting what the audience really want. Yeah. So in the process, you get news, yes, but it does not appeal. You say, why should it be this? Why shouldn't it be something that tells my story? People are interested in hearing their stories, but are they heard? Are they written in a manner that is constructive, that is appealing, that is tasty, that is relevant? So to me, press freedom, although Nelson Mandela put it so well that a critical, independent and investigative press is the lifeblood of any democracy, I feel in Tanzania we have fell really short of reaching there. Giving the audience that the kind of material, the kind of content that appeals to them. And therefore I could easily say that we have gone into irrelevance.
So this is actually, as far as you're concerned, on the basis of what we've just said, the ball is in the court of the media stakeholders, as it were, if they can examine themselves and see what kind of content they are providing in either in the radio, TV, or in the newspapers.
Exactly.
Whether it is well researched, investigated, and element of truth, which sometimes are the basic principles of journalism.
Exactly.
You think those are lacking?
Those are lacking.
They are not telling the story.
They are not telling the story, and people are anxious to hear their stories. I don't want to hear something that I don't know. I want to hear the story that concerns me. I have aspirations, I have needs, I have my pain, but I also have my laughter. Where are they indicated? Where are they? These are the sorts of things that people are looking for.
Deo, as a leader of the Editors Forum, do you want to respond to this?
I'm not sure I'm going to respond, but to give my contribution on what I see happening and what I find our country look like. I said it when I was presenting my speech to the guest of honor on May 3rd in Dodoma, that we are in a turbulent situation, kind of. We have problems internally and externally. Internally, we have less qualified personnel who are working in the media industry. They are not ready to go out there to get good stories. We have turned the original journalism into online journalism, a kind of competing with the WhatsApp groups, JF. The social media is a kind of taking over the roles and responsibilities of the traditional media, which is mainstream, and it's unfortunate, by the way, to find it happening this way. We have our reporters who are trained from unis and colleges, yet at this tertiary level, they cannot comprehend what should be news. And on that day, I challenged the dons at the unis and the colleges to look at themselves, whether they are doing the right thing and justice to this public, to train individuals who cannot work for the work with which they have been trained for. So we find it painful and paining to receive a master's student from a certain university who cannot map the story, to say a certain story, I started from this angle, go that direction. And this shortfall now, it is exploited by the other side, the government. How? Glad that the director of information is here. The government is taking this shortfall from the side of journalists to exploit the profession. That's where we find the level of intimidation coming in. That's where we find TV stations are penalizing for not doing properly their job. But not doing properly their job is a part of intimidation as well. Like, they attended a press conference at the League and Human Rights Center. 5 TV stations were fined, penalized 65 million for allegedly airing the press conference without balancing the story to the other source. I say this is a new norm in this country, which has been introduced by our government. And in Rwanda, by using these draconian laws, we find like this fellow director, Elendi brother, is frequenting journalists in his office, calling them to answer some questions, banning down the newspapers, suspending the publication. And I told the minister responsible for news, Dr. Harrison Mwakyembe, that he is misusing the Section 59 of the Media Services Bill, which is granting him the authority to suspend the content, but for him is banning newspapers by using Section 59. But responding to this call, he said as long as there was a lacuna, he had to fill in the gap. And he is using the so-called residual powers. That's what he told us. So
you misinterpreted also.
No. I did not misinterpret it. I thanked him actually for confessing that
he was physically there.
Yeah, I was there.
No, I read his article.
Yeah, I thanked him for confessing that he's misusing that law. He confessed it publicly. But now, translating what is happening to the real life, you can see Tanzania has dropped from. When you go to this report of Reporters Without Borders, we have dropped from 83rd to 93rd position. However,
from 75th
in 2017
to 83.
From 83 to 93. Mm-hmm. But the same report, if you look at it generally, Africa has fared well. We have overtaken America,
yes.
Where we are second now after Europe. But you go at the ranking. Now the scores, we were fourth with the 30 or 32 in 2015, but now we are second with 35. So generally, press freedom has gone down in the world. There is these laws. Previously, we were happy. We were happy when we got this Media Services Act in 2016. If you read this section 39 of this law, it says clearly that if a journalist balances the story from official sources, even if it's a lie, cannot charge for libel or slander. But now, when we go back from where I started, our journalists are not doing their job properly. We get letters to the editor, we publish them without balancing them. So we end up caught in this trap. But also
maybe
this law,
the journalists haven't read the Media Services Act of 2016 and all the provision you're citing here.
they are duty bound to know the law and the ambits they are working within. Because if you are a journalist and you don't read the law which is guiding your operations, then you are worth it. You are not worth it to be a journalist.
In fact, most of them don't read at all.
Then for those who are not reading, are not qualified to be journalists.
And
are
yet
not
they're
supposed to
there.
be journalists.
But if I may just chip in before you go,
Yeah,
on,
yes,
it's just
go
that
on.
when I joined the Nation, they give you a book that gives you the do's and don'ts. The media houses are not doing that anymore.
They are not.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Yes, that's the problem we have. I still have it today. The do's and don'ts of your media organization. Just go on there.
We are calling them policy books because, like in Jamhuri, when you come at Jamhuri newspaper, you get the editorial policy, you get the finance policy, you get the HR policy. You have to read them. And at the back of them, we have embedded laws of which we are working within. If it's the newspaper acted by then, now it has changed into MSA, you will get it from our newsroom. As a reporter, you cannot get any pretext to say, oh, no, I didn't know it exists. It was the... No,
It's very important.
Secondly, we have seen a growing appetite from the side of government to squeeze the civic space. In 2018, the government promulgated the online content regulation, which we have been pushed to challenge them in court. And as we are talking today, the litigation is going on in Mtwara. We have got a temporary what? Temporary injunction to restrain the public from being subjected to these online content regulations. These online content regulations.
The judgment is not about.
I saw you trying to challenge it.
I think the judgment is restraining the registration order. Not the regulations themselves.
That's where you went astray as well, Doctor. Because you tried to mislead the public by telling them it's only part of legislation which has been injuncted, which is not the case. All content regulations have been subjected to this injunction. So
maybe we are discussing two different pieces of order.
I know the order. I'm one of the petitioners.
You are the petition, but I'm saying maybe you have a different copy of the
one of the
from the one we have.
You are a respondent.
one of the respondents.
I'm the petitioner, and I know what is contained in our.
That's why I'm saying
he's not only a respondent, but he's a fellow journalist.
Yeah, he's a fellow journalist.
So we have a copy. Listen, we have a copy of the order.
Join our bandwagon so that together we challenge these regulations because they are a bit squeezing the public into a wrong corner. Like you find
we leave it to the court.
Yeah, we are not going to discuss because the matter shouldn't be prejudiced.
Under active consideration, let us give it to the court. But we say this one is one of the indicators, though the minister supplies that, saying, oh, we have dropped from 83rd to 93rd position because we are very firm on being against lesbianism and gayism. I say this is not one of the criteria used to gauge the level of freedom in any country. So maybe the minister has got a different parameter of gauging freedom of expression. However, Section 52 is also improved a little bit. If you look at it, journalists are now given the right to work as journalists, which was not there before. However, sources of information are not compliant to this section. There are a number of ministers, I'm not going to mention them now, but I think my colleagues have passed this information to you, who are not picking phone, are not responding to questionnaires, are nowhere to be seen, even if you camp in their offices. But the contrary, when they have anything, they sent back on WhatsApp, oh, I have done this, I have told the Bubungo Municipal to do 1, 2, 3. I keep wondering, what's wrong with these ministers?
But Deo, that's
one of the things proactively. I want the media to tell me, that this politician, this minister, this whatever, whenever we are chasing him or her, we don't get proper or positive response.
And yet
these are one of the things I'm telling the media.
They have what they call information officers.
Yeah, we have there the information officers in the ministries, departments, and even in the local government. But my office there is the office of the chief spokesperson. I oversee, the totality of government communications. There are sectoral issues, basically. There are national issues which I do respond. But what I'm telling my fellows, and you are now a representative of the editors, this is what I'm saying. Wherever you get constraints, come back to me. Very few are coming.
Yes, you've heard that.
Go
to
I've gone to him.
Of
several
course,
times.
he is coming back to me, but
But when you say him, I mean, it doesn't necessarily him, just him.
on average,
Even the
I really
on
appreciate
average,
maybe
you
through
know
this-
what? Just like Joe said the other time on the commercial, the business challenges. One of the approaches my office is doing is you have the challenges. Let's sit down together.
That leads,
Instead of complaining.
that point
complaining
leads
over
me
the
to
years.
something here, which is very important. I also read about what the minister said. He said maybe it's time, or there's need now, to have a media dialogue forum.
Actually, was responding to my request because I told him that several times we have been looking for this opportunity. In Mwanza, we presented this request to him. He said he would be meeting the press regularly. He arranged the conference in Dodoma. We attended. Unfortunately, he was not there. We could understand what he was passing through, and his wife passed away, so we accepted that one. But since then, he has never come back to the place. We have advanced our request to meet the president. He said there, no one is engaging the president. We said, no. As editors, from February 2016, we have written official letter to request to meet the president. But to date,
Through him?
he got a copy.
No, he's here.
He got a copy. We sent you a copy.
I never saw that.
Even the minister,
As
the minister said
as a
he didn't
government
see.
spokesman and head
Yeah.
of the
How
information
do you
services,
bypass?
you don't send him a copy. You involve
go
him.
straight.
Maybe you facilitate.
You know, the
getting-
president said if you want to see him, we should pass through the director of information, State House director of information. He said it publicly, and we followed the instructions. But
But,
anyway, as long as the director
That's internal.
of
That's
information
now-
service has
that's now
said
internal.
we should contact him,
Yes.
I can guarantee we
That's
are going
internal
to.
now. All right. Okay.
The law has improved a little bit. To put it, Section 54 is
You're
exonerating
referring to the Media
the
Services
Media
Act
Services
of
Act.
2016.
I think
yes.
it's Section 54, if I'm not mistaken, is exonerating the printers from being liable to libel, slander, or whatsoever, which was not the case before. However, we have individuals who are self-appointed spokesperson of the government, allegedly self-appointed spokespersons of the government, who are giving some utterances which are upsetting the profession. Not only upsetting the profession, but also journalists are being called in police offices, their phones are being confiscated, they are not taken to court, they remain with life trauma because they don't know whether they are going to be taken to court, like a journalist in Dodoma. Her phones have been taken is 6 months now. You go to the parliament, we used to be reporting freely. I have been a parliamentary reporter for about 18, 19 years. So we used to go to the parliament with our tape recorders, recording the materials, cross-checking with the Hansard. But nowadays, you are not allowed to record anything. The parliament...
Even to enter the parliament building.
Indeed. You are not allowed to enter with a tape recorder in the press gallery while you are a journalist.
Even with your notebook and pen.
No, you are allowed to go with a notebook and a pen, but not a tape recorder. And now they claim to be giving people clean feed. There is a difference between clean feed and clean feed. Journalists, reporters, TV reporters, radio reporters are given clean feed and not a clean feed. Some materials which they are uncomfortable with are edited out
Before you get them.
And we have gone to the Speaker of the National Assembly. We have told him about this. He said he would be working on it, but nothing happens.
Okay.
I was with journalists
Okay.
a day before yesterday.
Because-
they were complaining of same. Photos of those parliamentarians are no longer allowed to be taken in the chamber now.
Yes, I mean, those are the issues actually, but then we have limited time. Let me ask one question on the basis of what you've just said, to kind of bring it back to the main topic. So you think all what we have stated, what is happening, positively or negatively, is affecting press freedom in the country?
Indeed. It is affecting press freedom in the country because almost most journalists have been instilled fear and they have engaged themselves into self-censorship now.
I don't see newspapers closing.
They are not closing, but they are publishing press releases, no longer newses.
But there's one thing, one thing my sister Eda alluded to,
Yes.
which I totally agree with you. You know, I think right now it's an opportune time for people to do IJ stories. Investigative journalism, this is the time to do it. Because there is a goodwill on the part of government to deal with, you know, corruption and the like. There's a lot of goodwill from the government. So if I do an investigative story, that's factual, that's got everything in it, I wouldn't be afraid to publish that story. I don't think there would be an editor who would refuse to publish that story.
And you will not be taken to task.
No. But if I may be very honest with you, right now, if I was very active writing, I would do a lot of investigative stories, because I know when I publish them, the man at the top is going to take some action, and the people under him, they know that the man at the top is, you know, is not an angel,
including him.
Yes, you know, they are taking action. Because in the past, we did a lot of investigative stories, but Deo is here. We did the DCP, Debt Conversion Program, it tends to EPA, you know, escrow and the like. But what action was taken? But if you look at what is happening with the fifth phase government, these are some of the positive things. We shouldn't just look at the negatives. If the journalists would do their homework properly, do investigative stories that will tell this government that there are people that have eaten money that was meant for water, you know. I've seen the president talking to somebody, he talked to the professor, the PS4.
Kitila.
Yeah, he talked to him while he was in Mikumi, that, you know, some people have eaten money. Why shouldn't it be we journalists bringing that out, like we did in the past with the other stories? Why should it be, you know, a politician goes there, is the one who brings that? You know, we should be the ones that be going down there, bringing these stories up. I think this is an opportune time, if I may be corrected, it's an opportune time to do a lot of investigative stories, and action will be taken, from my perspective.
So do you think it's fair? I'll come to you, Dr.
Yes.
Bass. Do you think it's fair, therefore, for the media fraternity or stakeholders to keep on blaming the government and the actions they take, which, for all intents and purposes, are not really with bad intentions?
Mr. Simbe, but by my saying that doesn't mean that the government has been doing good things to the media. Like Deo said, I concur with him. There are certain things that have been suppressing the media. Let's be honest with ourselves. That's what I say, that when we see reports from Reporters Without Borders, Freedom House, you know, talking about our country, that freedom of the press is declining, the government, Dr. Bass is here, they should take remedial measures like they do when we have reports that the government, that the country won't attract enough investments because the ease of doing business is not okay. We are not doing okay. They should take with the same enthusiasm the same things with the media. You know, they shouldn't say these are just people that like complaining. Okay. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that.
Dr. Bass, please. I mean, I know you are itching to come in. I mean, whether to respond or to clarify issues. Please go ahead.
Actually, it's none of that. I'm in the middle to try to contribute to whatever has been said.
Yes.
I think Balira raised a number of challenges facing the media, and we all agree the challenges are there. Actually, they're not only there in Tanzania, it's all over the world, as Joe said. I was actually reading the Reporters Without Borders, I was reading the journalist, the SPJ, even in the US, even in Scandinavian countries, where, you know, these are the most rated, you know, the most highly rated countries in terms of press freedoms. People are still complaining about defamation laws, blasphemy laws are there. You know, the internet, you raise the questions of the issue of online regulations on radio, TVs, and online content. In most of these countries, if you read all these reports, these are the common challenges. So to me, I think the issue here is, as stakeholders, we need to find the way out. How can we, you know, mitigate, and how can we, what measures can we do, remedial, whatever, government and other stakeholders? Because some of these challenges facing the media, unfortunately, the debate is always between the media and the government. But I can tell you, Simbe, there are so many obstacles to press freedom which are non-governmental. We have the owners who are managing the media in Tanzania. They have their own policies. Madam here is talking about issues of content. We are from the media. We know some media owners direct what kind of content to be published or want to be broadcasted. This is not.
And the rewards generally
You
suffer.
see, well, the
Getting
question,
a
the
pay
economic
whatever.
interest you raised in the initial stages of this debate. You have the advertisers. You have media houses in this country. They cannot report about such and such institutions because they are sponsors. So as I'm saying, our approach since I came in, and the fifth phase government, as you're saying, we are really open to listen to and address some of the challenges. One of the interventions we did is coming up with the law. Balile was trying to cite it with a number of however. You know, we have done a major milestones actually in the Media Services Act. So if there are challenges, yes, let's discuss them and we address. But there are so many major milestones in the Act. Section 7, I'm always citing it. We have for the first time enshrined the question of right of the press with its different categories or levels of, you know, freedom to collect news, to freedom to process it, up to the dissemination level of that. We have for the first time in this law, Section 40, which protects you. You know, journalism is kind of a profession where anytime you can, you know, you can make some mistakes. So the law here is there. If you have made a certain, you know, professional, ethical mistakes, you can apologize. This is classical everywhere. We have included it in our law. Balile was talking about Section 52. For the first time, and this I'm saying everywhere, we have a law protecting the critical role of the press. Of course, in there you are old enough to know that we have now the major four roles of the press: the role, the critical role, facilitative, and the collaborative. But to ensure that in Tanzania we have the press, we have to ensure freedom of the press to criticize the government. You have Section 52 too of the law protecting you. Of course, people are confusing with falsified news and all these kind of things.
Fake news.
If you tell us, of course, first, if you tell us there's water project, as we are saying, in, you know, Morogoro, Dodoma, is not working after the minister has inaugurated it, here the government. Balile, I've called you several times. Not to warn you, actually. I think I warned you once, but called you twice to congratulate you. Of course, this is what we are doing. So you did the very
to
good
crown it
investigative.
all, I mean,
You did a very good
the
investigative
president
story
did
on
mention
Namanga,
this.
you know, all these kind of things.
Yeah.
You
It's
did
part
the
of him.
report.
That's him.
So,
Dr. Abbas.
what I'm saying, the media, my challenge now to
Yes.
the media, okay, we have challenges, let's continue to discuss and see the better way to address them. But one of the questions which I'm posing to the media, is it fulfilling its own part of it? Are they ethical?
Yeah.
Are they responsible? Are they professional? These are kind of questions also the
And,
debate on press freedom
we can't
has
go
to
into
come with.
details in that particular aspect because there's so many.
Yeah.
There's so many. There's a question of training, skills, competency, and you name it. As you rightly said, the ownership and the kind of pay,
Advertising.
compensation, advertising,
There are so many
all those are
challenges.
facts. So that's why I was asking, is there a point for the media to start blaming the government for everything instead of first evaluating themselves with all these things, whether it is correct? But I still believe, and
That's
Ed,
the
I want
story
you
of
to come
pointing
in.
one finger while the four are
Yes, and I want Eda to come in here. I think the proposal which you put through to the government, and thank God the minister responded, the establishment of a media dialogue forum. That is not necessarily in contradiction with the Tanzania Media Editors Forum as a different. Do you think this again I'm asking, this is a good idea? It will answer some of the problems that Abbas has raised, as well as Deo.
I think it's a very good idea. Personally, I'm one of those who believes in dialogue. It's a very proactive way of dealing with issues, especially those issues that are found to be contentious. But I want to say this, that rightly, as you said, we look at ourselves when we evaluate ourselves. It is so easy when you are living in a glass house to throw stones. But once you throw stones, you know what will happen next.
You will also be out.
Exactly. Your house will be raised down. Yeah? And this is what is happening. And I would like to say also that one of the things that as a media person, but also as executive director of TAMWA, is missing in the media industry is the fact that women management are not there, women products are not there, and women are not in news. I believe if women were there, it wouldn't have been good or bad, but it would have made a difference. And this is what we should be looking for as people. Yeah, we should be looking for differences. We've been there for too long. We did not give the opportunity to these women to display their talent, to display the management skills, you know, to also give what it takes to give a woman a chance to give their stories. I repeat this thing of stories because they say you African people do not tell your stories. You wait for people from the Western world to tell these stories in their perspective.
And then you react.
And then you react. Because
Negative.
naturally it is not positive, it is normally negative. Yeah.
What does TAMWA do to address the person that women are not well represented in the management of the media?
We use platforms such as this, which is why I came this time around. You've asked me several times to come in other platforms, but I thought this was a good one.
I'm very glad for
Yeah,
that.
because, you know, we are media women. Yeah, and what prompted us to start TAMWA was precisely to make our presence felt, that we are there, but we need to have stories written from our own perspective. And what we are doing is a lot of training for female and male journalists to write stories from women's perspective. And the good thing is, and this I learned yesterday where you didn't come, you should have come, the EU chief was talking about how they have set aside a lot of money to make sure that gender equality is
Mainstreaming.
exactly, and so that the SDGs also can be implemented,
So,
especially goal
Abbas,
number 5.
and
That-
Abale,
Yeah, we are part of
Dada
We-
Sanga,
we
Mama
get it.
Sanga, with
Now-
the due respect.
Now,
With the due
we
respect.
have 10 minutes. I know with due respect.
I'm
you wanted
chipping in
to
a
come
little bit on
All
this
right,
question
quick,
of
quickly.
gender. We have a huge problem. My expectations were that TAMWA would have been an incubating house for women to be raised in journalism profession to work as professionals. Jamhuri, for example, we have tried severally to employ women journalists in our newspaper.
Not just women, but competent women.
We tried taking whoever, but they are running away. They are afraid of doing investigative stories. They are saying, oh, you know, these stories, kind of the stories you are doing, like drug trafficking, the harbor, illicit business along the borders, is a path to death for them. That's what they keep telling us. You assign her a story, she'll go home 3-5 days after, and she'll tell you, you know, this story is too hard. Maybe I want to attend a press conference to get your story, which is straight. So, my sister, help us on this. While you are requesting, or you are requesting us to take on board women journalists, they should try to pull off their socks to make sure that we are in a private sector where there is no free lunch. They have proved their worthiness in terms of working capacity, knowledge, and whatsoever, but resilience as well, because nothing ever will come at a silver platter.
Yeah, but don't forget, the root cause may be from the source where you get these women as well as young men, but it's not just women. I mean, even young boys who are entering the
turnover for women
profession
is too
is the
high.
same,
I don't
yes,
know
but
why.
we need to find out the source, which means the training.
Yeah.
The courses are being offered, and everybody, you have these journalism institutes everywhere in Dar es Salaam, Morogoro, and the rest. I mean, one would say mediocre, but they're trying their best to fill in the gap.
Chairperson, can
yes.
I just say something? You know, we are new in this industry, which
Yes.
is why we are asking to be given the space to be managers, but also to see our products there and news about women. We are new there. So we need people who can go slowly with us, make sure that they give us the opportunity for, to display our talents, because if we are not given the opportunity, they will never know what we have, what talents we have. You see, when we come there and they see that somebody is not competent, the same action is not done for male journalists. It is done for females.
Anyway, this can be an argument outside the panel.
Clear.
Yes, this can be the argument. Sorry, this can be an argument outside the debate, the program. Yes,
But
Joe.
you asked Dada about dialogue, about what the minister said.
Yes, that's the
Since
media dialogue forum.
Yeah, Dr. Abbas is here. Let the politicians keep their word. It would go a long way in, ironing out. If it's even in a home, when you have your wife, you don't discuss the small things. You lead to a very big thing, even a breakup. What I would advise the government is this dialogue, should be a continuous thing. The president called a press conference once, it's gone. The minister, nothing. Maybe I don't know about what programs you have. Maybe we should have these things that, you even have a calendar. As State House, they have money that they can even call the journalists there to have tea with the president. Very, very informal. Then he discusses things with them. It's very important. Even the minister, you as the director, you should do something in that area. Coming back to Dada Sanga, talking about the women, I concur with you.
Before you go to women, we need to... I think this came up during the Press Freedom Day in Mwanza last year, when the stakeholders, advised for a forum. We need to have a forum quarterly on as frequent as it is can be done. And the minister accepted that, and we started doing it. I think we had a forum in Dodoma. Once, and there are some actions on the part of the government and part of the stakeholders to work on. Then we reconvene and continue the discussions.
I think that needs more publicity.
It was in Dodoma, and that is ministerial level. In my level, I'm doing a lot of interactions with the media. Even the minister goes to the individual press. If we want a national forum, I think the best approach is to continue with whatever we started after the agreement in Mwanza. We have already met once in Dodoma. It's upon now the stakeholders to work on the agreed action points. I think
and make it an annual event. I mean, that's
annual is too far.
Annual is too far. And the same
the
minister has to meet the hip hop singers, the football clubs should be turned back to the place.
All right, my dear panelists.
I think the problem here is it's a question of being proactive. The minister is very open in meeting stakeholders in the sector. We have 4 sectors in the ministry: habari, information, culture, arts, and sports. So if I can assess, and this I'm telling you the truth, if I can assess, one of the most proactive stakeholders are these guys you are calling singers, sportsmen. They are always bombarding the minister. They are there. Okay. Without the need of a big forum. Okay. So this is a challenge to the media party.
We have 5 minutes within which I also.
So this is a challenge to my fellows.
I know.
Knock the
very
door.
quickly. So what are the big challenges? One big challenge.
Yeah, the big challenge is whilst the government is doing well at the level of the president, the director for information, to respond on what the media is working on, we have this element of intimidating journalists which should be stopped by some officials.
All right, that's a bigger challenge.
I just want to advise Eda that Tama should be an incubation place for the female journalists, and you should work with maybe the editors forum and these media houses, that when people pass through the incubation period, then you tell them that so and so has passed through this training of ours. Would you please take her on board so that we see where we go? Because I totally agree with you. If we have more women in the media, it will benefit the media.
Thank you. The challenge?
Maybe to me it's a challenge, a solution. I think one of the solutions to the challenges we see in press freedom is for the media itself to be accountable.
All right.
Be accountable, be professional, you will be safe. I think the first or the major safety rule is to be professional.
All right.
In any trade.
Eda?
For me, I would ask the government to look into the possibility of making sure there is a lot of investment in TV and radio media outlets out in the rural areas, because that's where the majority of the people are, and that's where gender-based violence happens.
All right. Thank you very much, my panelists, for all your analysis of the either existence or non-existence, superficially may be understood, of the freedom of press in the country. For each of you came up with all sorts of explanation, where the status is now, where we are, and making suggestions as to what should be done in terms of challenges, but Dr. Abbas called them solutions, as well as saying the government should concentrate on TV and radio stations focusing on the rural areas where the biggest population of Tanzania live. And of course, you know, all the necessary basic requirements to have a very vigorous but well responsible and accountable media houses is equally important. Thank you very much, my panelists. Viewers, you heard the views of my panels here. I don't think I need to add any more, but it's appreciable that World Press Freedom Day 2018 in Dodoma made some progress, and there are products which have emerged from the meeting. And I think once the media and the other stakeholders, including the government, can always meet together under this proposed media dialogue forum and other forums like TAMWA, then the media profession will improve, and it will take into account the professional basic practice, ethics, and what they're supposed to do. Yeah. And not to just wait and fight for only one piece of news, but diversity in sources of news is equally important. Thank you very much, my panelists. That's all we have for you today. Until next Sunday at the same time, and on Thursday at 15 hours for the repeat program. On behalf of my panel, Eda Sanga, Dr. Hassan Abbas, Joe Mwamnyangi, Deo Balile, and my TBC Television Center crew. Thank you, viewers, and goodbye.